Oh Lord, there's a lot to unpack.
Freaking movie. It's like watching it. I was like, why did we do this?
Yeah,
Why did
I
we
ask
do
myself
this?
that so much. Mhm.
I'm ready. Are we
All
ready?
right, I'm not, but let's just go.
Let's do it anyway. I mean,
ready
we
as you'll
already
ever
did the
be.
worst part. We watched the movie.
Yeah,
We survived that.
let's get on with it. Ready?
Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette. I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hi. All right. I didn't even pull up a summary because I don't even know, but we just got done literally minutes ago watching Twilight.
Oh.
You know, we're doing this for you before Valentine's Day. So if you and your honey need something romantic to listen to, you can stream this podcast episode.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
It's all about the romance.
You're welcome. So unless you were living under a rock, you know what Twilight is. But just in case, it's about a teenage girl, the most uncomfortable and awkward teenage girl that moves to the Pacific Northwest with her dad and starts high school and runs into a vampire. and a lot of really uncomfortable, awkward, inappropriate things happen.
Yeah. And then it's just back to back mouth quiver.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
The end.
The end.
Okay, I feel like right at the beginning, I was pulling up like the notes that I took. I forgot that the whole reason she even moves to Washington is just because her mom's kind of like, can you like GTFO?
And can you get out of the way, please? Thank you.
Definitely some issues there.
Like she's in high school, like maybe a couple years left, of school. She's almost done, and it's like, yeah, we're kind of ready for that nest to be empty.
Yeah.
So
bye.
You could just move.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and Bella even makes comments, and I have read the book of Twilight also in the past. So,
okay. I'm happy
know.
because I haven't read it, so I'm happy you've read it. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much of this I'm remembering from the movie versus the book, but Bella does talk about how she's been a parent to her mom for as long as she can remember. Like she cooks for her mom, she cleans, she makes appointments, she pays bills. Like her mom has never really been a mom figure. She's always been kind of flighty and irresponsible. So I think that kind of is a pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't go into that in the movie.
I don't think they got into it too much. She calls her something, like she calls her mom like flighty or something,
right.
But
yeah,
they don't explain it as much.
But the fact that she moves like mid-year, because obviously I think it's mid-year that she's moved.
Yeah.
Like it seemed towards the end of.
They say the date. I forget what it was, but it was like it wasn't August. It wasn't like your usual start of the year time.
Well, it's like a couple months before prom too.
Yeah.
So it's clearly like halfway or more into the year.
And it just out the gate, you guys, out the gate, it's just so goddamn uncomfortable.
I wrote angsty.
I was like,
so
why?
angsty.
Why?
Vibe is so angsty.
It's so okay. It's angsty, but also like I feel like that's not how humans interact.
It's not because it's not.
Like I feel like that's not how people talk to each other and like interact. Like I don't know. I'm sure maybe all of us have been like the new person in a school,
right?
The once in our lives. That's not how people act.
No, just all the weird, uncomfortable things of people like teasing her and
kissing her.
And yes, I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like,
no, super uncomfortable. So before we get too much into it, we should go around and say if we've seen, like, obviously we've probably seen this before. So we should just say our experience with Twilight.
Okay.
So I can do the embarrassing confession and start.
Let's hear it.
I love it.
So when the books first came out, I think I was maybe 20. So not a teenager, but a young adult, I would say. Yeah. And I started reading them, and I have to say it was when I first moved from Oregon to Rochester. And so maybe I was like 20 maybe I was 22 when I first read them. So maybe they'd been out for a couple of years. I loved them, you guys.
I know you did.
I loved the books. And I know they're young, but it kind of reminded me of just the vibe that I felt when I was in high school and the love story. I have to admit, I absolutely devoured these books. I loved them. I loved them.
I mean, you are not alone. Those books were incredibly popular.
They were just something about them. Like they just gave me feels. I just, yeah. And so then when the movie came out, I was excited because I thought, well, I really love these books. Let's go see it. One of the biggest disappointments of my life because I feel like the movie is so terrible compared to the book.
It's so unexplainably terrible. Like, I don't even know how to describe to you how terrible it is.
Yeah.
So I saw it when it first came out in the theater and I hated it.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it's because you loved the book, right?
It's because I loved the book and I felt like this was such a disappointment. I couldn't get over the terrible acting and the weirdness of it that I thought they just ruined the story of the book.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I feel like that's kind of a common thing though with any adaptation of a book, right? Like I'd say pretty like 9 times out of 10, if I really like a book and I find out they made a movie, I end up being kind of disappointed. That's just part of it.
The only exception to that for me was the Hunger Games. I actually thought that the Hunger Games they did a good job.
Yes, I agree.
I loved both the book and the movie as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Each other.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so did either of you see it in the theater or?
So I graduated high school in 2007 and this was 2008. So I was like right at that age.
Yeah.
I remember it like being like a joke thing to do to like go see Twilight. And here's the thing, like I honestly can't recall because I don't know if I was drinking or if I blacked out or if it just didn't happen. But I don't know that I've ever actually seen this entire movie because I think it gets to the baseball scene and I just turn it off because I'm like, I won't respect myself if I watch this baseball vampire scene. I can't do it.
It's pretty bad.
The baseball scene is so out of left field.
No.
Ba-doom, ching.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, but so we were talking about this before we started recording, but I made my husband watch this movie because he had never seen it, which I was like, okay, like I'm going to force you to watch it because it's an experience we all have to have. And the reason why I made him watch it is because I think he was like talking to someone or like listening to a podcast where they talk about this baseball scene. And so he texted me and asked if that was real. He was like, is there really a scene in Twilight where they play baseball? And like goes on to describe it. I was like, yes, that is something that happened. And now I'm going to make you watch it.
It's just a family game of baseball.
And they have to play during thunderstorms.
Right.
So no one can hear them play baseball.
They're so strong and powerful. It sounds like thunder when they hit the ball.
I can't talk about it. I don't think I could do this, you guys.
Oh, man.
Oh, all right. So had you seen it then, Yvette?
Yeah, I don't think so I would have been like 12.
Yeah.
When the movie came out. And I didn't read the books. I feel like I wasn't super into that kind of stuff. I mean, later on, I would go on to watch like all of the Vampire Diaries and stuff. Okay. So like, I'm not above the vampire stuff. I was into it, but not not when this movie came out. So I don't even know if I watched it in theater.
Yeah,
I think I may have watched it later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't super into it.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Well,
fair.
Yeah, makes sense. So.
But it's like, love it or hate it, everyone's seen it, right? And I feel like that's why we have to do this movie because like
it's such a thing.
It's huge, and it's like, I mean, I feel like there's so many references. So many people have done like satire, like making fun of it because everyone's watching it, everyone knows it. I mean, I did watch. Do you guys watch Vampires Suck? Which was like, it was basically an entire like satirical remake of Twilight. Oh, it's actually pretty funny. Like I
might need to watch that.
I feel like one of the things that like I still think about is like, you know, like the mean vampires, the 3 that like kill people.
Yeah,
there's like a scene in Vampires Suck, which is like when we first meet them, and they're like, "Oh, like, do you know who we are?" And the guy on the boat who's about to die, he's like, "The Black Eyed Peas," and like I watched that movie, like, when I see them, I'm like, okay, like, I see it.
Yeah.
Black Eyed Peas.
It's the Black Eyed Peas. That's who it is.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Damn.
So if you enjoy making fun of Twilight, or just, I mean, you're not making fun of it, but like, it's a fun thing to react to. I would recommend Vampires Suck. It's it's a whole experience.
I found in some of my research too, there's, and I forget the website, so I'll find it. We can reference it for people. But I don't know if it's the people who used to do, oh shoot, what's that? What's it called? Mystery Science Theater 3000. So I don't know if it's the same people or just the same vibe, but they do it, and where you can pay $5 to download the audio of them watching it and play it along, like as you watch.
Yeah.
And apparently even people who hate Twilight think that this is like the funniest thing they've ever seen.
I bet.
So I'm like, I really want to watch it that way.
Yeah.
So next time we get drunk and get the urge to watch Twilight, we should do it that way.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
So I feel like we just need to talk about the Edward Bella relationship.
Yeah, because I don't even know where or how to talk about this movie, you guys.
Like, it's so unhealthy, you know?
I think it's really important to talk about the moment where he smells her, because the movements and motions that they both make in their face and body is the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
They're so twitchy.
She walks by the fan and it blows her scent at him, and just the way that he like moves, I'm like, is he having a seizure or is he like having an orgasm? One or the other of those are happening.
I stand behind it. This movie is hornier than 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes, thank you.
Like, at 50 Shades of Grey, at least they just have sex. Like,
yeah, at least they can have a conversation without getting off. Like,
no, God. I saw some quote from Stephanie Meyer, and maybe this applies to the book, but not to the movie, where she was like, "Oh, it's about love, not lust," and it's like, "Girl, no, this is the lustiest movie.
100% minor lust.
It's
like,
completely about lust
of a minor, right?
Yeah, like
and very appropriate.
We'll get into that when we get into some of the psych of this, but it's exactly the opposite. Like they call it love, right? It's clearly lust. They trust each other with no basis for it. Right. They act like they hate each other.
Yeah. It's very unhealthy.
It's very unhealthy. Very
it's like, oh, we shouldn't be together, but also I'm going to keep coming back to you. And
let me smell you.
It's so I feel like we also just need to talk about the Colons in general.
Okay. Yes.
Because I feel like, we get the scene. Right. Bella's in high school. She like kind of meets the friends, right? Like she kind of has a little group of like, maybe she could join this little group of friends. And then we get to meet the Colons as they all walk in. And I swear they all looked 30.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
They all looked 30 years old.
Yes. Yes. They are way too old to be in high school.
It was like, they even dressed differently, I swear, than like the high school students. Like the way they dress, the makeup, everybody's like, okay, they are 30 years old.
They look older than the teachers. Like, it's
well, in fairness, they are all very old. I think Edward is 104 in reality, because he's been 17 for however many years.
Yeah.
But I do think in the book they are very much different than the rest of the high schoolers. They are fancier. They're rich. They're more sophisticated. But they also didn't need to cast 30-year-old actors.
Yeah, and that doesn't come across. Like them being rich and classy and better than ever. That does not come across. Them just being like weird and misplaced is the only vibe I get.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay, but also, Laura, do they explain this any better in the book? Why are they in high school?
Thank you.
So they have one line, because it's the scene with all of the graduation caps where it's like, oh, but why? And it's like, oh, because the younger we start out in a town, like the longer we can stay there. It's like, bro, go to college.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're going to get your PhD.
Why not 22?
And I could be making this up, but I do think they do that. So I think when they go to a place, they are passable as high school students. So they start in high school, then go to college, and then they're able to stay there for, like 10 years because they can start young and get older. But once they no longer pass for recently graduated college, then they got to move on. So,
but I feel like they could do the same thing and not have it be statutory. Like they could they could be 18 or I don't know, and not in high school. Like they could be freshmen in college.
Yeah.
Or they could be legal drinkers. Like
I think most of them are around the age of like high school though. So I think that's when they turn. So I think that's why they do it. I think maybe some of them are a little bit older when they, became vampires.
They can pass off as not high school though. So it's like, I feel like they could have very easily started in college, like college freshmen. And then, I don't know, you can take, 6 years to get a PhD.
Right.
Get your undergrad, get a master's, get a PhD, go to work. And that gives you so much time.
Yeah.
No, it's true. But because then we wouldn't have the high school romance, you guys.
Yeah, and it's more like a middle school romance, it feels, but
that's kind of.
Yeah. I thought the same thing though. Like, okay, so Edward meets Bella. He clearly hates her, hates their smell, really, really awkward, cringy scenes. And then we see him in the high school counselor's office, really mad that she won't let him switch classes. And so at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I understand. Maybe you wanted to start in high school, start yourselves really young so you can age out.
Right.
But he doesn't need to finish high school. So just drop out.
Just go.
Just stop going. Like you don't.
I thought the same thing.
Like you've graduated high school 40 times. You don't need another one.
Right.
You just need to do this.
Yeah.
Why are they all in high school?
I think because like the biggest question is like, why would they want to surround themselves with high schoolers? Not even them being in high school, because they may have their reasons, but like all of their peers are going to be young teenagers. Like that seems creepy to me.
Yeah.
That like, ooh, that's who I want to be my peers is young teenagers. Like,
yeah.
Also, that's not a good way to lay low.
Exactly.
It's like, who loves talking and gossiping and looking into people's lives? High schoolers. You really think this weird group of
yes, like who loves to make outcasts more than anyone in the world is high school students. Like
is forcing yourself into the community by going to a public school.
Yeah,
instead
outrageous.
If they just didn't go to school, no, you can just go live in the forest.
Yes,
you probably have 10 years before they'll even go check on you.
Yeah, because he obviously loves the forest because that by far is one of the top most uncomfortable scenes. But like, Edward obviously loves to be in the trees. So yeah.
Are you talking about the spider monkey?
Yeah, please
spider monkey.
Don't say that.
We have to.
God. Ladies, I have to admit, there are some parts of this movie that I actually don't hate. There are some parts that I like. There are some parts that are good, but the spider monkey part is the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's so stupid. No, the part with his skin is the dumbest.
No, spider monkey's worse.
No, I like the skin scene. This is the skin of a killer.
Okay, the spider monkey made me cringe more though. Like it's straight cringe. Like, and it's so out of left field. Like,
everything in this movie.
He wouldn't say that.
It's just such like a discombobulated film. Like, where are all of these things coming from and why? Like,
it's so bad.
You brought it up. We have to talk about the fact that in this world, in the Twilight universe, the vampires, instead of dying or being burnt by the sun, they shimmer.
They sparkle.
They sparkle.
So I've affectionately named our drink for this episode Sparkle Skin is the name of our drink.
Love it.
I hate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I hate it.
So we should probably just talk about then what we're sipping on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we probably all had the same idea, but I think I technically thought of it because I have a lot of glitter. I have a lot of edible glitter for some reason. And I just thought any drink you want, listeners, whatever drink you want, but you must add edible glitter to it.
And a really decent amount.
A lot.
Yeah.
So Brianna and I are drinking wine with glitter in it.
Yes. And I decided to take something out of the movie because in the movie, Bella's dad was Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie is sipping on some Rainier beer. So I went and got myself a 6-pack of this very, very cheap beer and added a lot of glitter to it.
How is it? Like
it's like a PBR.
Okay.
Like a super light beer. Like, which honestly I don't hate. I kind of enjoy light beers. So
I think they have a time and a place for sure.
So that's what I'm sipping on.
Yeah, just throw some glitter in there and call it a day. And then just watch that conversation between them about his sparkly skin. It's so like tense, but also absurd.
Yeah.
Like I don't even.
He acts so dramatic and like it's such an upsetting thing, but then he turns around and is just shiny.
I mean, you know, we've all seen vampire movies show. There's a certain lore with vampires that everyone has agrees with and uses, and the glitter skin is a really interesting take
because it's so intense. Like it's not subdued at all. Like,
so here was my question. Do you think the actor Robert Pattinson is still to this day finding glitter on himself from being covered in glitter for that particular scene?
I hope the answer is yes.
I bet he's still finding it because that stuff doesn't go away.
No. That's there forever.
Yeah. So sorry, Robert.
I just think there's something about, and I've seen these two actors in other films, like not Twilight ones, and they're good. Like they're decent actors and whatnot. But like the facial expressions that they are like making at any given moment is so contorted and extreme.
Yeah, that
it's like, why?
I don't understand it.
Why?
Because I agree, they can both be decent actors.
Yes.
But it's horrible.
Like I don't think it's their fault.
I think they just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fair.
I legitimately think they just didn't want to be there.
That's fair. That's a very
I don't think any of them expected this movie to blow up the way that it did.
No, because they probably were like, wow, that was a terrible movie.
Yeah, they were like, oh, this is this is going to be fine. Maybe it'll do fine in the box office. Like, it's whatever, right? But it absolutely blew up. And I really doubt they knew that. I don't think they expected it.
I agree.
Although the books, and you guys were probably too young for this, but the books blew up. The books were like everyone was reading Twilight when they were first out and big. It was huge. It was like one of those.
I don't know why.
They're good books. Have you tried to read it?
Brianna is shaking her head and saying, no they're not good books.
Something about it it took me to my teenage self, and like, oh, it was so
I feel that way about the Hunger Games.
I liked
like I love the Hunger. I will talk for hours about the Hunger Games, but like Twilight is trash.
But see, I liked the Hunger Games and I liked the book Twilight.
Yeah.
I did try to reread it a few years ago because I think we had watched the movie and I was like, it was so bad. How did I ever like the book? But I was like, I know I did. So I did try to reread it. I think maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And I couldn't get through it. I was like, it's not as much. It's not, it's not the same. It's not the same as when the first time I read it.
It's also a time commitment. These books are not there isn't only one book and they are not short.
Yes. Because
they're not, but they're like young adults. So they are fast reads.
No,
like
they are. Because I think for like my age group, it was more the 50 Shades of Grey that was huge because I was on my honeymoon the year that 50 Shades of Grey was popular. And it was just my favorite moment. Like I turned to my husband and was like, oh my God, look. But we went to Mexico for our honeymoon. And so we're going out to the pool and you look at all the seats and the benches and every single woman had that book because it was before like Kindles were huge. Every single one of us. And I had my own. I did.
Oh, that's amazing.
Every one of us had that book. So I can see how like Twilight would have been.
Did you like 50 Shades of Grey?
I loved it.
It was
shamefully.
I loved it. The feeling that I had reading Twilight was the same feeling I had reading 50 Shades.
Okay. All right.
Did you read 50 Shades of Grey, Vet?
I did not. No.
Well, you know what you're doing this spring.
Yeah.
All this
it's steamy.
It is steamy. It is steamy.
How is it compared to the movie?
Oh, way better than the movie.
Oh yeah, but like way dirtier.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Way
more.
Okay. The book is way more inappropriate.
And I just think because something about, and it was the same with both Twilight and 50 Shades for me, something about when you're reading about this kind of lust between characters, and it's you just get the feeling that you've had when you've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
And it's just, the way you can imagine it is way better than what they did in the movie, because it's like your own memories of, falling in love for the first time or having a crush in high school and things like that. So it's way better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, nice. We'll add it to the list.
Yes.
The reading list.
Yes.
So I feel like we should talk through kind of the progression of the relationship.
Okay. All right. Let's hear
before
it.
we get to Sparkle Skin and Spider.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so we've talked about when they, first meet. Edward has the horrific facial expressions. He hates Bella.
Yeah.
He just looks disgusted at her and he leaves. And then he's gone from school for a while.
And we should say the movie begins with like Bella narrating.
Yeah.
Very.
Oh, that's right.
What's happening. So.
And then I think I think she says some sort of a eloquent line when he's gone, like, things were weird or something.
Yeah, things got weird.
Yeah.
But then he comes back and his eyes are a different color. They were black when he was, like, hated her.
Yes.
And then he comes back to school and now they're this golden brown.
And he can be near her. He's not making a stink face.
He's not throwing up.
Yeah, he's all of a sudden like, introducing himself and trying to get to know her. And he asks her something about the weather. How does she feel about the weather?
Right.
And her quote is that she doesn't like any cold or wet thing.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me.
Horniest movie.
Filthy.
This movie's so horny.
Yes.
It's amazing. And that's I think why people liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The looks that they gave each other, the way the lip quiver.
Yeah, like
that
it literally
is just nonstop.
It looked like they were often just orgasming.
It really
when
did.
They were looking at each other. Like,
maybe that was the direction they got. Like, you're just having silent orgasms the whole time you're interacting.
I can't.
For me, like, it was not so much the lip quiver that stuck out to me, but was the blinking, the constant, like, kind of twitching, blinking.
Yeah, or like the like. Yes, I was like, is she like? What is that called?
I actually do have a diagnosis for that, so we'll get to that when we get to
all right. Okay. To be continued. But yeah, so she learns from her friends about who the Cullens are. Because she also has a friend, not at school, but because of her dad, Jacob. She also, from her friends at Jacob, she learns that, like, it's an old tale that, like, they're cold people or something. And she goes and finds a book about cold people. And then she, like, puts it together that he's a vampire.
Well, because she has some other evidence.
Oh, yes, because she touches his skin.
Well, and
before, we know he's very strong.
Oh, God, how could I have forgotten? That's the best part of the movie.
That's amazing. She's chilling by her car, or her amazing orange truck. I do love the truck.
Yeah, the truck is fantastic.
And this high schooler is driving like a freaking Formula One driver through the parking lot.
In a van.
Well, we had seen that it was icy.
Yeah,
right? Like it's supposed to be. Yeah,
because she slipped. So
yeah.
But
one could hydroplane.
Yeah. He was also driving so fast.
He was driving fast.
And I love that if you look at his hands, they're like, like he's like, no shit, you're going to run into something. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do if you hydroplane, actually. Just frantically move the wheel back with your hands.
Love it. Shit. So he's going to hit her, the dude in the van.
And Edward is across the parking lot with his family, staring at her creepily. And the next thing she knows, she's been shoved out of the way, and Edward is holding her as he puts his hand out and stops the van.
Puts a big dent in it.
Puts a big dent in the van.
His bare hand.
And then he runs away.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everyone, like, calls 911.
Yep. So it's this big to-do. She goes to the hospital.
And then my favorite part.
Yeah, me too.
This is when then the gaslighting begins.
And it's so good, you guys.
Oh my God, the amount of times that I wrote gaslighting in my notes.
Because then she goes back to school the next day, or he's in the hospital or something, right? Maybe they're at the hospital. Because his dad is a doctor.
They're at the
Edward's
hospital.
adopted dad is a doctor. So yeah, he's at the hospital and she has to talk to Edward.
And so she's confronting him. She's saying, how did you get to me so fast? How did you stop?
You know?
Yeah, how did you stop the truck? And he says, that didn't happen. I was standing right next to you. And she's like, I know what I saw. He goes, you hit your head.
Yeah, you're confused.
You're confused.
No.
And then
I literally wrote, the gaslighting is strong in this one.
And to her credit, she's like, no, that's not what happened. I know what I know. I know what I saw. To which he replies, nobody's going to believe you.
No one will believe you.
Like how fucking predatory is that moment? Holy shit.
No one will believe you.
No one will believe you.
It then is followed by him telling her, because she is just saying, just tell me the truth. And then he says, I hope you enjoy disappointment. So first he lies to her. He, is telling her no one's going to believe you about this or other things that I should do to you. Enjoy disappointment. He's threatening her. And then he says, can't you just thank me and get over it? Like making her feel ungrateful.
Can you just say thank you? Okay.
Yeah. Fuck, get out of here.
This is immediately followed by him stalking her in her bedroom. So I feel like if this isn't an exact recipe for what to look for in an abusive relationship,
yes,
there's nothing else that could be added.
This is it. There's to a T.
There's nothing else that could be added for red flags.
No, it's so true. I feel like, especially given their prime, I think I was like 12 when this movie came out, and I feel like that was like still part of the prime demographic for this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, impressionable youth, like that's ladies, we don't need that. We don't need gaslighting.
No, we don't need this at all. Throw the whole thing.
We don't need any of that.
No, not to mention good. His unprovoked and irrational anger that comes out of nowhere.
So erratically.
They're just walking along and she trips. And he's like, can't you watch where you're walking?
Right? Like, Jesus. Sorry.
The scene later after she gets her little book and then all those guys approach her, which is like, okay, like first, what is happening here?
Yeah, what the fuck
and
is
then
this?
Edward rolls up to save her, and then he like is driving like a maniac.
Yeah.
And he's like, I should go back there and like rip their heads off and like, okay, like talk to me about anything so I don't do that. Like, but it's like, okay, whoa, bro.
First of all, that's a lot of fucking pressure.
Okay.
Could you calm down?
Totally.
Yeah, like that would be like a normal thing to happen where just a group of like 6 men I guess it's symbolic, but Jesus, like, yeah.
Forks, Washington.
I know this. Yes. Like, it's not like they're in a big city. Like,
yeah,
it is kind of sad because I do agree where it's the target audience for this is teenagers or young girls,
right?
And it doesn't have, even the book was kind of a similar message, but I think you at least got a little bit more of the intention behind Edward and Bella and both. But it's a crappy message that like there has to be, that this person is this kind of like bad person or really mean to you,
right?
But like you're going to change him, like because you're in love, like he's all of a sudden,
and you're going to just willingly just sacrifice all of your like needs. Like, oh no, you can literally kill me and I'll still be with you. Like, I don't need anything. What do you need, dear? Yeah. Like, it's very harmful.
Because sadly, I mean, Bella does absolutely. Like she's totally fine with all of it. She's so into Edward, like all of that he's doing, all of this talking. She's like, oh, this is romantic and cute.
This is great.
But he doesn't know that. At no point does he ever get any sort of consent from her for his level of protection. That's not protection. That is possession.
Yes. Oh, we need to put that on a motherfucking t-shirt. That is not. Wait, what was it?
It's not protection. It's possession.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay strong out there, ladies.
I hadn't even thought of that. It just came out when
it was beautiful.
I said it.
It was beautiful. It's great.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, okay, well, we're not going to watch any more of these movies for the podcast. So I feel like we can talk about anything that happens in the sequels.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the big thing that came from this movie, which actually you don't get in the first movie, I guess it's kind of part of the sequels, is the Edward versus Jacob. And they're both awful.
They are. They're both.
Like, that was my first question when the movie ended. I was like, wait, are the others more about Jacob? Because I thought that Jacob was like a big part of this story, but he's really not.
He's big in the second movie.
In this movie much at all.
He plays a much bigger role.
Okay. Anyways. Oh, I did have a really important question that we're just not being, what's the word when you're like on track? Like
on track?
No, but like, we're not being linear. Okay. We're not being linear.
Oh no, this is just going to be.
I've also had some wine. Yeah. But my most important question was: vampires don't have blood, right? Like in their body, like they're not blood.
Is that how it works? They don't have blood.
Yeah,
their blood was different.
I think they don't.
Oh, see, I thought they didn't have blood. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know how it works in this, because I feel like in other things, it'll be like, in order to become a vampire, sometimes you have to drink their blood. So I don't know if that's like the lore, is that they have no blood.
Okay, really
different blood.
Questions.
I have no idea.
But my question was going to be like, how could they have had a baby?
Oh,
wink, wink.
Okay, so the first hit from Google tells me this. Vampires do not have circulatory systems or digestive systems. Instead, the blood they drink disperses through the interstitial fluid that houses their organs and flows around their muscles to provide nourishment. So, does that answer your question?
Google, can vampires get a hard-on?
Oh my God.
So it does say that vampires have a circulatory system, but no way to produce their own blood.
Oh, so it's just the blood
Now I'm going to change this to, do vampires get
incognito mode?
Thus, erections are possible.
Oh, okay.
Thus, you didn't let her finish.
No, that's literally what it says. That's the beginning of this.
It's not even like anything. It's just, that's the very first part, is thus erections are possible. In some popular literature, vampires need to drink blood first in order to get an erection, which supports this theory. The reality is that in the olden days, people didn't associate blood flows with erections and figured that it would just happen. So that's why like historical vampires could get it, because blood wasn't really important for that.
It just happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, here at Spooky Sips, we get to the research that really matters.
Yeah, we do. We're answering the important.
We ask the hard-hitting questions.
Hard.
We do.
Maybe I should have some water.
Yeah, everybody have some water.
We need a silly episode.
We're so light. That's
Here
just
we go. Okay, so I don't even know what's happening.
Well, we should. Okay, so we're kind of talking about their relationship, but we maybe could also talk about, because there are 3 deaths in this movie.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
let's talk about those, because they all most happen at the beginning.
Yeah, well, the first is the very first scene. It's a
poor deer.
There's you see that a vampire is hunting a deer.
And I have to say, like, I did not remember how this movie started. And like, just hearing Bella narrate about death while we're watching a deer in the forest is not what I thought it would be.
No.
Totally.
Not you remembered it.
Oh, also, did the deer have mange? What was wrong with that?
Yeah, I know. The deer was unwell. Okay. The deer...
mangy deer.
Why did he have to get such a wrecked deer? Because I think it was probably like CGI, so why not like make it
or at least make it a nice one?
So that's the first one.
Yeah.
And then the second death is that there is there's just this random, like, so we have all the high school scenes, and then there's a random cut to a guy in a warehouse that's being hunted by a vampire, and dies.
And he dies.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we have the boat.
The boat. Yeah. So So that's the second death. Then the third death is this like old drunk man who like was being really creepy to Bella when she first moved to town.
Yeah.
Don't you remember me? You sat on my lap when I was Santa.
Jesus.
That's a weird way to say that.
Predatory behavior in this film.
Yeah.
Why did we have this happen as a society?
There's some theories.
There's
some theories.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
So, yeah. So the old guy that was creepy,
right?
He ends up being like Bella's dad's like best friend for like 40 years or something like that. But he's in a boat, and that's the first time we see the vampires, the bad vampires.
Yeah, not the Cullens.
Yeah.
Did we specify that the Cullens are vegetarians?
No, we should. Well, they're not vegetarian.
That's what they call themselves.
I know, but that's not true.
At least say vegan. You know?
Yeah, they should say vegan. Just mix some celery juice in with their,
and it's fine.
They're good to go.
Paleo. I don't know.
They follow the Atkins diet.
Shit. Yeah, so the Cullens only drink animals, not humans.
Yeah, blood.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow. Good for them.
Which is hard for them. It's a hard thing for them to do.
It doesn't fulfill them. It doesn't.
Hence, what's his face? Jasper?
Yes. Jasper's my fucking favorite.
What
like
is
this
wrong with
scene when they're like at the house and he's just there in the back, like just staring.
He looks so wrecked.
I think that in the intro, too, which we also haven't talked about, Anna Kendrick is in this movie in like too small of a role. And I think she is the one who maybe introduces like, that's whoever and that's whoever. And I feel like when they introduce Jasper, it's like, like he's the one that always looks scared or something. And it's like,
he always looks panicked. His eyes are huge and his face is tense. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's happening with Jasper.
I love it though.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I don't know so much that I feel as strongly as you two that it's inappropriate that they're out of high school for the developmental reason, because I do think they were pretty young when they were turned, and I think their brain stopped developing, so they are kind of still young. But I do think it's very inappropriate. Why go to a school that has so many people if you're a new vampire trying to not be tempted by blood? Like, why are you in a very populated school?
Yes.
For that reason, I think it's really stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Jasper should not have been there.
No.
Like, and he didn't need to be. No. Like, why? Okay. Yeah. I can't. All right, moving on.
Moving on from that.
All right, so Edward's being a real abusive,
sparkly creep
to Bella, but then the prom is coming up, so Bella and her human friends decide to go to Port Angeles to go prom dress shopping, but really Bella only wants to go. She's pretending to want to go dress shopping because she's just, using her friends for their car.
Right.
She just wants a ride because she needs to go to a bookstore to find a special nerd.
Yeah, because she's not like other girls. That's my favorite fucking trope.
Yes.
She is totally like the not like other girls.
She's not like other girls.
Everyone to know that she's not like
I'm just here for the bookstore. Shut up, Bella. Get out of here.
So anyway, she buys her little book.
Yeah, I did just I can't handle this movie.
I did hear it, so I don't know if the mic picked it up.
It was great, you guys. It was great.
Okay, so she goes to the bookstore for her cold people article.
So is this a real book? I forgot to look it up.
Oh, we should look it up. I don't know.
But it's a book that's sold by clearly a Native American bookstore.
Yes.
Because there's clearly a long history. And as we kind of mentioned, Jacob has already alluded to, the vampires and his tribe have this conflict going back for forever.
Yeah, they got beef.
Because as we then learn, Jacob's tribe, they're werewolves.
Right.
And werewolves and vampires are enemies.
Do we even learn that they're werewolves in this movie?
No, not yet. Not quite. I mean, he does say
there was like the lore.
We're descendants from wolves, but he doesn't. Because here's the thing that you do learn, and I don't know if you learn this in the movie, but you do learn in the book. Jacob doesn't think he's a werewolf. Like, he doesn't believe in werewolves. He thinks it's all just kind of lore and, just lessons and stories until he starts to become one. And then he's like, awakening. What the fuck? Yeah. He doesn't even believe it. He thinks it's just stories.
Okay. So then
that's when the guys like attack Bella.
Yeah, she's in the parking lot and there's the creepy boys.
Yeah.
Edward saves her. And then she just stands up her friends because she's like telling them to meet them for dinner. And then she just, they just go eat without her because they're like, sorry, we tried to wait, but we were hungry. Like, we called
where are you at? Like,
which fair.
Yes.
I'm not waiting for you.
It should be noted that everyone is obsessed with Edward. Like, they think he's so beautiful.
Oh, yes.
So charming. So then he pops out with Bella as, the two girls are leaving dinner. And he's like, I'm sorry, I kept Bella. And of course, like, Anna Kendrick's character is just like fawning over him. Like, it's okay. Eddie. Yeah. So then Edward takes Bella to dinner. And I have to say, I actually kind of thought their dinner scene was kind of like cute and romantic.
Okay, real quick. I think it was just a prop.
Okay.
I don't think it was real.
That'd be a good book to have if it was real.
Right? No, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I want to check it out. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, yes, their dinner scene.
Their dinner was
I actually thought it was kind of romantic.
Can you remind me what happened in the dinner scene?
I don't know. They talk.
They just talk about how he shouldn't be with her.
Well, and
how he should know that.
Yeah.
He does let her know that he can read people's minds.
Yes.
But not
that's right.
And I don't know. I feel like there's some chemistry. There's some sparks with it.
All right.
But I mean, it's still predatory.
No, you're right. That's an okay scene. That's an okay scene.
And then when they're driving home, the heat is on in the car for her.
Right.
Because he doesn't need it because we learn, and this is something they don't really explain in the movie, they do in the book. Not only are vampires cold, but in the book, they're all, I told this to Brienne and she like couldn't handle it earlier. They're also hard. Like they're like stones. So like, instead of like when they kiss, instead of like you kissing like a soft mouth, it's like a cold statue. So maybe he doesn't even need to get a boner. It's just like constant.
Wait, what? Why?
I don't know. He's a vampire.
Oh shit! All right, okay.
Yeah, because nothing is sexier than making out with a fucking statue.
So hot for you right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So anyway,
well, that may have been good to leave out in the movie. We can give the movie credit for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know how they would have done it, but I'm happy they did it.
Right? Like,
you're so hard, baby.
Oh my god, your skin is so hard.
So we're at me and Brianna are together and we're at her house and I think we're really upsetting your dog.
She's really like, worked up, you guys. Okay. She is not okay. It's okay, Penny.
It's okay.
I know.
So on their way home from dinner is one of like my favorite parts. Because excuse me, Penny, did you hear that?
Done.
So they're like on their way home, they see police lights and Bella's dad had been investigating the death of the creepy, used to be Santa. And I love how he's been eaten and torn to shred by the vampires, but they wheel out the gurney and his just little feet are just like flopping out like the end of the gurney. Thought it was
chocolate.
I love that part.
Oh, I feel like we haven't talked about Bella's dad.
Yeah,
at all. We have to talk about Charlie.
No. Is he the chief actually, or
I think so?
Okay,
I think he's
the
sheriff.
Isn't that what Edward calls him?
Yeah,
he calls him like Sheriff Swan.
Yeah. I think he's the head dude.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can tell that they haven't been living together for a long time. That like, so her parents are divorced, and you can tell that like they haven't lived together. She hasn't lived in Forks since she was like 4, she says. So yeah,
and she's clearly visited and stuff, but
right.
They're not. He's pretty aloof and independent, and not really warm and fuzzy.
Right.
Yeah, but they give him some good moments. You know, like at the diner. Yeah. Where the waitress is like, oh, the whatever, right, is your favorite. It's like, oh, your dad orders it every, like, whatever. Like, and everyone's like, oh, like, he hasn't stopped talking about how you're coming. Like, they give him little moments of, like, he's not talkative, but, like, he was clearly excited about her.
Yeah, like, he has a good heart.
And he's missed. Yeah. And I think he hasn't been given a chance to be close to her.
Right.
Because of her flighty mom.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I think Charlie's trying. Like, the scene where Bella is leaving, and she's like, trying to make it so he won't follow. And she tells him, like, oh, I'm leaving because I don't want to be stuck here. It's like, oh, it's what my mom told him when he left. It's like, all right, you did not have to do Charlie like this.
I know.
That was harsh.
I'm rooting for one character, and it's Charlie, and like you did not just do him like this.
Yes. Agreed.
Yep.
I actually liked Charlie.
I know, I did too.
It's
pretty brutal. He's just doing his best, even if he is oblivious to everything that's happening.
Right.
And I think they don't, I don't know how obvious they make it, especially in this first movie, but Charlie is like, it's not inappropriate because he still, understands Bella is, 17 and is going to kind of be independent and do what she wants to do. But it's not that he doesn't want her to be with anyone. He doesn't like Edward because every time Edward's around, bad stuff happens. So like he doesn't trust Edward, and rightfully freaking so.
Yeah.
Like Edward has this, and I don't know, even though that we've said this, not only in general do vampires, thirst for blood of humans, but for some reason, Edward has never been so thirsty for a human as he is for Bella's scent. He's like, something about your scent, girl. Like, I want to eat you more than I've ever wanted to eat anyone.
It's so dirty.
Oh my God, the line
so dirty.
About the lion falling for the lamb or whatever.
Yes.
We're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm throwing up.
So
sorry, I'm just vomiting.
Their relationship
literally
is starting to progress. I will say, as it starts to progress, Bella has a vampire dream. Like, she has a dream about being bitten by Edward.
Oh,
that's a hot dream.
Yeah,
like she's all like done up, like her makeup's all beautiful, and like the way he like goes in on the couch. Like I'm like,
oh,
it gets
daddy.
Steamy. Yeah. So the scene of them in the woods, like, is so
where he like tells her to hop on Spider Monkey or whatever.
I thought we weren't saying that anymore.
I just threw up in my mouth.
Well, like right before that, like, okay, so they've kind of talked more now, and their relationship is kind of progressing. But she's now realized that he's a vampire, so he like, she like walks up into the woods and he follows her, and it's so creepy because she's just standing there, and he's like, they're both faced the same way, but like no one talks like that.
No,
but he's like,
he's just behind her.
And she asks him, she's like, how old are you? And he goes, 17. And she goes, how long have you been 17? A while. Or like a really long time.
And then she's like, I know what you are.
And then he's like, say it. Say it.
Say it, Bella. Like, what the fuck? What? Like, let this happen?
Is that in the scene too, where he's like climbing around the trees or something?
Yeah.
I feel like
he's like running away from her.
He's like running, and then he's like on the tree, like perched, talking to her. It's like, why are you doing this?
He's like everything about me. He's like, I'm designed to kill. Everything about me draws you in. Like, you're drawn to my charm and my smell and my. He's like, as if you could outrun me. And then he's like jumping up on the. He's like,
haha, no, I'm over here.
And then he like tears a branch down. He's like, I'm stronger than you are.
That's where it's like, oh yeah, you couldn't get away or something. Where it's like, oh,
like
okay.
So that part is so bad.
It's so much.
I will say the scene where then like right before they talk about like the lion falls in love with the lamb, the way he kind of like leans on her, like leans into her like in the forest. I'm like, that's kind of a hot scene.
Laura is so hot for this movie.
I'm secretly
okay, yeah. So I feel. Do you find Robert Pattinson? I keep for some. Matt and I can't not call him Robert Pattinson. So like this episode's really hard for me.
Please only call him that. Please.
Wait, is that from something or just?
I don't know.
That's the best thing I've ever heard. Robert Pattinson. I love it so much. I love it so much. Oh God.
Do you guys find him attractive?
Not at all.
No, I don't.
Not at all.
I wish because the Edward, as I was reading these books, I was picturing him super attractive, and I was like, ew.
Yeah, I prefer more attractive than him.
Absolutely.
Like if I had to be with one of them,
she's hot.
I'd choose her.
Oh yeah.
I don't find him unattractive, and I actually think in other movies. Robert Pattinson can Robert Pattinson, he can be actually pretty attractive.
I agree.
But with his stupid tall hair, like I can't.
No. Pasty skin, no. It's just the way he is.
Probably, a little bit of that abusiveness is what.
Like I think
that doesn't help.
Attractive. I would totally be down for her dad.
Yes.
As far as
right?
No, he is.
I would choose him over Bobbert.
As far as there's the whole Team Jacob or Team Edward.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just going on looks alone, I'm Team Jacob.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Team Charlie still.
Only when he's a wolf, though.
But he got hot when he got older.
That's only when
he did. Yeah. Also, he was my childhood crush from Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which is what I know him, which is what I know Taylor Lautner from.
What's he in?
The Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
You're probably too old for that. I was too old for that, but I remember like Matt was the right age.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl? What the hell is that?
You just look it up. It's this whole thing. It's really cute. It's a movie.
It's a movie. It's a kid's movie, but he's like one of the main characters, and like absolutely, I was crushing so hard.
Okay.
Oh, Bobbert. So yeah, I don't know. Weird shit happens. They come out at school. They show up in the car together, and everyone's applauding them just because they walked out of a car together.
Yes.
I have to say,
I was like, why? Why?
My teenage heart.
I bet.
Like it spoke to me. Like just that thing of like showing up with the person that you're in love with that like everyone wants, but like and he wants you, and like they're just like bells of the ball. Like I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I secretly love this movie.
I know you do.
This is actually the best movie.
Actually, Laura's favorite movie. Straight up 5 out of 5 for her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that happens, and it's weird, and she meets his family, and that's weird. And then they go spider monkeying through the trees together.
Yeah.
When she meets his family, it's so cute because they're actually kind of cute. Like they're
cute. They're
cooking
like,
for her.
Yeah, like it's cute
because they don't eat vampires, but they're like trying to make her Italian food because her name is Isabella. So they're like, oh, Italian. It's sweet,
right?
But except for everyone except the one sister Rosalie,
who like
is such a bitch.
I just have to love her.
I love this actress. Like this actress is one of my favorites, especially at that like time in my life. I love her. So like that's the only part of this movie I approve of is that she's in
just
it.
Being so outwardly angry.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I just have to say there is so much glitter.
I know in the bottom.
Yeah.
I need to
that I'm only just drinking straight
I need
glitter.
to pour more wine in because
it's a good idea. Straight up glitter.
Yeah. And you do learn later why she's such a bitch to Bella.
Right. She's just looking out for her family.
Well, and actually,
let's be real. She's kind of right.
Fair, like,
right.
But it's also a little bit more than that. So I don't know how much.
I just love that you know all of this and that you're like defending them. And you're standing up for them.
No, I'm honestly so happy Like,
he's so invested.
Okay, so here's why really she's mad.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the only thing Rosalie ever wanted in her human life was to be a mom. That's all she ever wanted.
That's right.
And she got turned. And once you're a vampire, you cannot have a baby. You don't have the parts or whatever.
Or the blood.
And so really, she's mad at her family for even considering having like Bella join, because she doesn't want Bella to not be able to have a kid if that's what she wants it. So really, she's actually between Edward and Bella. Leave me alone. I really want to go home and read the books, you guys. Okay. I want to try it one more time.
I just have to say, this reminded me of another scene. Laura and I tried really hard to not talk to each other while we watched it, because we're like, we got to save it for the pod.
Yeah.
But I don't know what made me think of it, but we were talking about how, because I was like, what about when Bella's on her period? Like, is that more intense? And then we were talking about like when she was pregnant, because Laura was like, oh, well, childbirth, there's a lot of blood. And I was like, yeah, because like, would Edward want to eat his own baby? Because like, you know how humans eat veal, right? Like
tender blood.
Yeah. Like the veal of humans.
Yeah.
Baby.
It's extra rare.
Yeah.
This is very upsetting.
So that's where my mind goes. Laura's just swooning and I'm going as dark as possible.
Very different direction.
To eating babies.
Very different direction.
Very different takes on the movie.
He's gonna eat his baby.
Yeah. So that's where my mind is at.
Anyway, so they do all that. I don't know. How do we get from the bad vampires to prom? I think
let's talk. Okay, the next most important thing is the baseball game.
Yeah, they go.
Yeah.
So it's family baseball time because, you know, that's a thing.
Makes sense.
And they're all in these little outfits with their little hats.
Their hats are so dumb.
Their hats are so dumb.
Rosalie's pants are the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
They're so bad.
Yeah. She makes it work though. But they're playing baseball and, you know, they're doing their speed thing. It's so fast.
They're so fast.
And the bad vampires hear them.
Yes. And they're a trio. So there's the main guy,
Laurent, James, and
she is so invested.
Actually,
Laura has actually watched this movie like every year.
Actually,
and she actually has a diary where she keeps notes.
Are we supposed to know their names? Sure. I don't remember the girl's name.
It's like Jessica. It's not Jessica.
No, it's not.
Alexander. I don't know. It's something stupid. I don't know. Jessica. I don't know.
Laurent, James, and Victoria.
Victoria. Yes.
Jessica.
Oh, Jessica's Anna Kendrick's character.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah. See.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're playing stupid baseball, and they're like, when the trio comes up, they're like, "Hide, Bella." So Edward's like, "Stay behind me." And then Rosalie's like, I could smell her a mile away. Like, so anyways, they're like, we want to play a game with you. But then what's his name?
So the wind blows, and then James gets a whiff of Bella. And remember, she has a particularly potent smell.
Yes.
That vampires are like crazy about.
Like, how would you feel about yourself if that was like one of your traits? Like, would you feel better about yourself or worse about yourself? Like, you're stinky to vampire.
Yeah, no, right? It's like, what do you mean? Like,
how do I take that?
But like, they take it as like you're gonna be extra yummy.
Okay, so it's a compliment.
Yeah,
I guess.
But so then the way that Edward reacts, like being protective of Bella, James is a tracker and he loves hunting. I wrote this down from my notes from watching the same movie.
He does.
That's what happened.
And so the fact that he kind of can't have her is like, that's now his only mission. Because it's not about like, he could go find other blood other places, but this is like, no, but I want now what I can't have. Which really is kind of the bad message that this whole movie gives. Like, wanting what you can't have, or like having it be like difficult or a chase. Like, love doesn't have to be that way. And that's what they're saying. It's not worth it if it's not that kind of, I feel like. So then it becomes they're all trying to protect Bella. They've got to get Bella out of town. That's why she says the really mean stuff to Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And they send her to Phoenix, where her mom used to live, but her mom is now not there.
Yeah, because they were right.
But I forget why they go to Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't remember why they went to Phoenix.
Because honestly, like, that's where they should have known that he would go.
Yeah. But so they're trying to like throw him off the scent, but he knows that's where they went. And so, well, he finds out that's where they went because he like breaks into the school and gets the record of her home address, her mom's address.
Mm-hmm.
So then
there's a ballet studio.
Yeah. So there's Alice can see the future and she sees this ballet studio. And then Bella gets a call on her phone and it says it's her home calling. So she thinks it's her mom. And she hears this recording of her mom being like, Bella, where are you? So Bella thinks her mom is in trouble. And
that's right.
James, the bad vampire, is like, come to your ballet studio alone. I'll know if the other vampires are following you. If you want to save your mom. And that's where she's like, I would die in the place of someone I love.
Right.
Yeah. Which is how we started the whole movie, right? I think that's one of the first things she's like narrating. Yeah.
So then they're in the ballet studio. Turns out James had just stolen a home video of Bella's mom calling for her when she was like a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mom was never in danger. And then he's trying to attack her. He ends up, there's like kind of a fight. He's throwing her around. She like breaks her leg. She's bleeding everywhere.
Because there's mirrors everywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
he bites her and like the venom is super, super painful. But before he can like suck her blood out, who shows up?
Old Eddie.
The fastest of the family.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. So yeah, then they're having a thing, and then his family shows up, Edward's family. So like the dad is there, and she has a really bad wound on her leg that's bleeding, and he's trying to like save her, the dad.
And there's just this epic fight.
Yeah.
And we should say the vampire dad, not Bella's dad.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, the vampire dad.
And
Daddy Carlisle.
Daddy Carlisle.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then some of them get James, and Alice like twists his neck, but they have to like burn him because that's how you have to kill a vampire.
Dismember and burn him.
Oh yeah.
They do that, and then Bella wakes up in the hospital. Like, what happened?
Well, and then because during that, right, it's the whole dramatic, right, Edward's dad being like, "You can do it," blah blah blah. Where it's like
he has to suck the venom out.
Why don't you just do it?
I know, right?
You're like a
same thing. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Because it's got to be Edward because he loves her, so his love will overcome the desire of.
I'm sorry, my eyes have rolled so far back in my head that I can't see.
So
I've lost sight.
Because she's either going to become a vampire if they don't stop it,
right,
or die if they suck too much blood out.
Yes.
So he has got to suck just enough,
just the right amount,
just enough sucking.
Yeah, that's what
Daddy Carlisle said. And so then she wakes up in the hospital. They come up with this story because Bella's supposed to be a klutz in the movie.
Yeah, she's stupid.
Yeah. We see her falling and hitting.
I would call her stupid.
I'm klutzy, but not stupid.
No, yeah, it's like
we're gonna go with stupid. So
no, she's just a little clumsy.
She's clumsy. Oh my god, I'm not like other girls. I'm clumsy.
I'm not like other girls. I like books.
So yeah, they come up with this story that like she like fell down some stairs and then out of a window.
Like she fell through a window. Like, oh, I tripped.
And
sorry.
That's how she like got the broken leg and the cuts.
Yeah, that's why she's in the hospital.
And then Edward tells her, "You need to move back to Phoenix. We can't be together." This is the most overreaction, bad acting scene I have ever seen in my life.
Agreed.
The way Kristen Stewart acts, like, no, it's horrendous.
So bad.
It's even making your dog upset.
Yeah, even
Penny is upset.
And so then Robert's like, Robert.
And then Robert.
Like, I can't. I think part of the thing that I don't understand about him is like, I don't see him as Robert or Rob.
Yeah.
Like, I would, like, he does not look like Robert. I don't know.
He's Bobbert, though, for sure.
Bobbert. Okay, so I think people just, someone on the, I think it's an internet thing where, because, you know, he was in Batman, you know.
Oh, right.
And so I think somehow in the internet, someone came up with it where it's like, oh, so he's Robert Pattinson. He's Batman.
Oh, I get it. I get
it.
it.
So anyway, that really stuck for Matt and I. I don't know how frequently we're talking about him anyway, but we do call him Robert Pattinson.
Yes. So then, he decides like, okay, fine, we'll stay together. So then it kind of flash forwards to, okay, they're back in Forks, Washington. Bella's got her little leg in a brace and they're going to prom.
Right.
Together.
Yes.
And at the beginning of prom, though, Jacob shows up.
Which was so weird. Like, what are you doing?
That whole scene was so weird.
I don't understand
like,
it.
oh, my dad gave
he has like a tie on.
Yeah, he's like,
he shows up like with a tie.
Like he's ready to go to prom, but he only stays in the trees and and then like the little bench to warn Bella, like, you should stay away from Jacob. My dad says we're going to watch you.
Yeah.
And
also, we should talk about the fact that she's not like other girls, so she was wearing Converse to prom.
Yes, because she's not like other girls.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I love it. It's just it's
too much. It's
too
such
much.
it's perfect.
And
I love it. This is my favorite movie.
I know you guys are going to disagree, but I also think like I really liked the end scene. I thought it was really romantic. Their like final dance with their like the music and the twinkle lights. I liked it.
Oh, and then that like the kiss where she's like, "Oh, I'm ready," and he like tilts her head back. It's like there are other people.
Steamy. It was steamy. I liked it.
What's steamy?
It was.
It got my high school heart pumping.
I bet 14-year-olds would like it.
That's what I'm saying. Like the little high school version of me would have loved it.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think it's
the
end credits, right?
Yeah, it is. Then it's just bam, done.
All it then really is basically where she keeps saying, "I want a vampire, and I know I'm going to get what I want." Like that's my goal is to become a vampire.
Right.
Even though Edward's like,
that's right.
"I want to take your life from you,"
right?
You know, but she's just like, "No, it's going to happen."
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah.
Which is like they've known each other for a total of like 2 months at this point.
Yeah, but they're in love.
Yeah, they're. Yeah, she's like, I'm irrevocably in love.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The lines where she's like, "There's 3 things that I know that are truths. 1, Edward is a vampire. 2, there's a part of him, and I don't know how big of a part that, or how dominant of a part that is, that thirsts for my blood. And 3, I'm unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him."
I love that you have that memorized. She is.
You can quote a lot of this movie.
That is a quote ingrained on her heart. Everyone.
I'm a sucker for romance.
Oh, I love it.
Sucker.
We're doing so good in this episode.
Good.
All right. Well, is this a good time to get into some psych?
I don't think there is a good time for that, but yes, let's do it.
I'm like, I really want to know where you went with this one.
Me too.
Yeah, let's do it. So, disclaimer. I am not a real doctor, but it's okay because these are not real people. No vampires.
Yes.
So, Spooky Sippers, I feel like in recent episodes, I've kind of gone different directions than where we originated from.
Yeah.
Where I diagnosed the characters. Yeah. We're going back to our roots.
Oh,
love it.
I've got I've got my DSM, my pocketbook DSM out. I'm ready to diagnose.
Love it.
And I don't have a ton, but I feel like a lot of it we've already kind of touched on. Just the dysfunctional relationship of a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
But let's just talk through some of this.
Yeah.
I feel that we need to start with Bella's parents.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of what ends up transpiring and Bella's personality comes as a result of her upbringing and her parenting style.
I would buy that.
Yeah.
So I feel like Charlie, although he does have those moments of softness and love, he's a bit cold and distant. And I do think that's because he hasn't had the chance to be around Bella as much.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like he kind of just has like this bit of a wall between him and his daughter. Like he's not super close with her. So she's got a bit of that distance with her dad.
Yeah.
But I think that comes from her mom, who I think she's a real piece of work.
I agree.
I know Bella loves her mom. They don't make a huge deal of this in the movie or in the books, but she is neglectful.
Yes.
And I think possibly she might have undiagnosed, treated, or medicated bipolar disorder.
I would buy that.
And here's why. I think she fluctuates between these times of being, the times where she's bored in Forks and when she was with Charlie, she's bored, aka I think she's just depressed.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to do anything. She doesn't like anything about
she's
that
in a
life.
low moment.
She can't take it. And then she goes into her manic stages where she's like, oh, that's the flighty side where, oh, I'm just going to move. I'm just going to marry this new man. I'm just going to travel around the country. So I think because of this mom's neglectful parenting style, abandonment. I mean, Bella has had to be the parent to her mom her whole life. And then her mom just finds this new husband who Bella says, oh yeah, he's a nice guy, but really your mom chose him over you.
Right.
Very clearly.
Right.
And so I think Bella's got a lot of abandonment issues.
I can see that.
And a lot of just having to grow up way too fast.
Yeah, and kind of having to be independent on her own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she's had to be the adult way too early, which can lead to a lot of problems later in life with being able to set healthy boundaries with others in your relationships, which, that's what we see.
Yeah. 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 Cause it's not even that her mom asks her to move to Washington, right? We learn in the movie where it's like, oh no, she realized that her mom was sticking around because of her. So she offered to move to Washington. It's like, oh, that's shitty.
I know.
Really shitty.
Yeah.
It's really, really shitty. And then it kind of seems that her mom doesn't even really call that much, or when she does, it's, hard to get a hold of her. When Bella's in the crisis, she calls the mom and she's like, oh, your phone must be off. It's just, she is not a reliable parent.
Right.
And her erratic parenting style has really affected Bella's ability to, first of all, her self-esteem. I actually am going to say that everyone in this movie has a horrible case of terrible self-esteem.
Yeah. I can
everyone.
see that.
Bella,
that's fair.
Edward, parents.
Not the bad vampires. I think
not
they
the
have
vampires.
Great self-esteem.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, everyone else
they're
has
fine.
a shit self-image, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I'm really now just only going to focus on Bella and Edward. At first, I was kind of looking into Jacob, but we don't see him much in this movie, so I'm not going to get into that.
Right.
Yeah.
So for Bella, there's a few diagnoses I'm going to give her. One is that she has separation anxiety disorder with Edward.
Yeah.
Her overreaction that we see in the hospital, her complete devastation at the thought of Edward not being near her 100% of the time, the fact that she won't sleep without him, or that she's totally okay with him just watching her sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
I think not only does she have separation anxiety disorder with him, he has it with her.
Yeah.
The fact that he cannot be alone for
both
1
ways.
second. So they both have it, which also leads to my next diagnosis of they are codependent.
Yes.
With each other.
Oh,
they are
yes.
totally in a codependent relationship.
100%.
And it's
Definitely.
unhealthy. It's their relationship has started from this place of abuse, honestly, from Edward, of psychological, emotional gaslighting and abuse.
Gaslighting, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so they are very much in this unhealthy codependent relationship. I also, for Bella, am going to say that I think she's got some Stockholm syndrome going on. So Stockholm Syndrome, traditionally that's been used for when people fall in love with their captor, but it can also be when people fall in love with their abuser. And I do feel that eventually they change this where Edward's not, he's not abusive, but he was doing this to protect her. But they did a really shitty job because he wasn't being protective and honorable. He was just being a dick.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think initially this relationship did start out with a huge power imbalance where he had all the power, she had none, and he used it in an inappropriate way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, he is bringing her into like a society. Like, but like he's bringing her into this whole world where she kind of has to adapt herself very quickly.
Absolutely.
To be okay with them and be like one of them.
And also, Bella's got a lot of learned helplessness because, he's bringing her in, but she never can make a choice. It's all, she has no free agency in this movie.
Yeah.
She says she does. She says, I loved also the line where when she's with the human friends and the one girl is saying, "Oh, I don't think Mike's going to ask me to the prom." And she's like, "You're a strong, independent woman. You do it." And I just thought that's freaking laughable.
Yes.
Right?
I thought, wait, what?
No, that,
whatever it is, it's that. Like,
It's, So she has no free agency. She has no consent at all in this movie. Yeah. So poor Bella. I think she needs to go to some therapy.
Yeah. Therapy would be helpful.
I think everybody should go to therapy. I've said this before.
We can all benefit.
Again. Therapy for everyone. Human, vampire, wolf, just everybody go.
Because I feel that before Bella can be good in the relationship,
she needs to be good on her own.
She needs to be good on her own.
Yeah.
She needs to be able to define herself outside of Edward. Because that's one thing I really don't like about these movies. The only time Bella then can be becomes this strong woman is after she gets married, and then all of a sudden she's allowed to have an opinion.
She genuinely has no identity.
I think that she should have been able to find herself first, before becoming in this committed relationship, and committed to the point that humans can't understand forever. Why he will never forever. They're in love. Right. So
I wonder, do they break up? Because you know how Rosalie and what's his name were together, and Alice and what's his name were together. What if you break up and you're a vampire? Is that allowed?
That is explained, actually.
Oh, okay.
It is.
Yes, I don't know if it's explained in the movies, but it is explained.
Oh, wait, tell us. Yeah,
in the books, the Laura has memorized.
Okay, so later on, I'm sure you both remember, it's not quite the same thing, but later on, when Jacob ends up imprinting
on
Bella's daughter.
I only know about that because of TikTok, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
So it's not quite the same, but what happens for vampires is each one does have one soulmate that they are in love with forever. It is a never-ending love. It cannot be undone. So Rosalie and
Emmett
and Jasper and Alice, they have found. So actually, Bobbert Pattinson, he is the only one that doesn't have a soulmate.
What a loser!
So
Esme and Carlisle, they're all they're vampire pairs, which are unbreakable and everlasting. You never lose that love. So it's monogamy, hardcore.
But I think part of it, and maybe they get into this in later movies, and maybe I'm just going too deep, but they were so okay with Edward bringing her in. And okay, go ahead.
They were way too okay.
They were way cool with that. But I want to know, what are the expectations and guidelines and rules on that? She's obviously a human, so he has one of two choices. He can leave her as a human and always have it be a risk, and then obviously she'll die, or he'll turn her. But shouldn't that be a conversation that Carlisle has with him, where he's now, okay, here's what's okay and here's what's not. I don't know. I just think
I think they do have those conversations.
They were so ready and willing to be okay, sure, come into our life.
Yeah.
But it seems they shouldn't be so trusting of a human, I guess.
Yeah.
Or so comfortable with a human.
And I feel part of it is they think they feel bad because he's the only one without his soulmate.
Yeah, he's a big loser.
And they all have one, and they want him to be happy.
Right. Like, bro, it's been like 100 years.
Yeah, like, what is wrong with you, man?
You've been to high school 100 times.
You've been around 16-year-old girls for 100 years.
He's been waiting for Bella. Bella's his soulmate.
We're going to get Laura a t-shirt that says Twilight Defender.
Oh, Twi-hard.
Twi-hard.
Twi-hard. Oh, I like that one.
That's what they're called.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Is that a real, like they're called Twi-hards?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny.
Anyways.
All right. So now we're going to get into my diagnoses of Edward.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that especially at the beginning, Edward has persistent depressive disorder, otherwise known as dysthymia. He basically has been, it's almost kind of like he's been living Groundhog Day for 100 years. He goes to high school over and over again. He doesn't enjoy the food he's eating. He doesn't enjoy the company he keeps. The only company he keeps that he can actually be himself with is his family, who all have a soulmate, and he does not. So he's just like bummed out, basically.
He's like a legit.
He's just been depressed for probably 80 years.
Yeah.
It's great. So he's just really depressed and just constantly feeling that way. And you can kind of see that with his irritability, just the way that he kind of like sulks around all the time.
Yeah.
I think he's just depressed. I already said, I think he also has separation anxiety disorder.
Right.
And is also codependent with Bella. I wrote with Edward. I also feel that Edward has PTSD from his past.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they get too much into it in the movies, but they allude to it a bit, where when he was first turned, he was first a vampire. He murdered people.
Right.
Yeah. And Bella's cool with that. She's
cool.
Totally cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it eats him alive. Like I think there's kind of some religious undertones in the books and this. And you know, Stephanie Meyer
is Mormon.
She's Mormon. So I feel like there's some of those like morals and like religious tones, but he feels really guilty about having killed humans because that's immoral.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think he has flashbacks to it. He is very overly sensitive to it.
That makes a lot of sense.
He's very jumpy about it. So I think he's got some PTSD. Also, and this isn't, in the DSM, but also he's a stalker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because as I said, being protective without consent, that is not protection, that is possession.
Yes.
So he's just a major stalker. The fact that he's in her room and watching her, sure, it ends up being that she's fine with it, but he doesn't know that.
No, there's no consent.
Yeah, you can just watch someone sleep for 2 months without their knowledge, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I like to watch you sleep.
And like, he will never leave her alone, even if she were to ask for it. Like, he wouldn't. So he's very possessive and a stalker.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went on such a deep dive this morning, kind of researching some people's opinions, and I watched all these therapists react to Twilight.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. And it was everything we've already talked about, kind of their shitty relationship. But one post, and I have to just read it because I loved their interpretation of who Edward is. They said, on one hand, he could be maybe this, romantic, lovable vampire guy, or he could be he could have a sadistic ego, or he could be okay,
hang on.
Let's start this one more time. Or he could be a sadistic egomaniac who intentionally encourages Bella's unhealthy emotional dependence on him, manipulates her into socially isolating herself to such an extent that there is nothing important in her life except him, which is true.
Done.
Deliberately leads her into danger that only he can protect her from, and then proceeds to emotionally and psychologically torture her by repeatedly threatening to abandon her and requiring her to give up more and more of her own identity in order to remain with him, just because he gets off on knowing that he has complete control over another person.
A reach.
Yeah. That's sounding pretty close.
That could also be him.
Agreed.
Or maybe he's romantic and it's sweet.
Yeah, I guess in the book, Laura, our local expert.
Yes.
Like, does she have friends? Because I feel like in the movie, it's like, there's this group of friends that's like very openly inviting her, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they're like kind of there. So I'm wondering, like, did she have like other friends?
He alludes to the fact that she didn't.
She
left.
Right. And she definitely, in the book, she is more friends with Jessica than they show in the movie. They are actually kind of friends.
Oh, okay.
But it is pretty superficial, and Bella instantly is like, I'm ready to give them all up.
Right.
The second Edward says so, they mean nothing.
Okay.
And she like kind of the thing that we did see in the movie where she just abandons them and doesn't tell them.
Right.
She absolutely does that in the book. Not really. Edward is the only thing she cares about. She would give up her whole family, any pseudo friends she has her whole life for Edward.
Healthy.
It's not healthy. It's very good. So yeah, that's totally the vibe in the book as well. So yeah, I didn't go too much into it because I knew we would be talking so much about the relationship just as we talked about the movie that's kind of the psyche of it.
No, but that's interesting. I actually think that fits very well.
Yeah.
Like you see that even more in the later movies and books. But yeah, no, that tracks.
So really the message to our listeners is do not model your idea of a healthy relationship off of
Bella
and Edward. And I think that's the problem is when people kind of romanticize it to a fault and say, you know, that's what I want. I want the type of love that they have. Kind of like Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
That was not a good relationship.
Toxic,
no.
Like, So I think
also toxic.
if it's just kind of fantasy and you realize that there's parts of it that aren't great, take it for what it is. Kind of like we watch, our guilty pleasure shows. That's fine as long as you realize that's not real and that's not healthy.
Fiction. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, well, nice.
There's
love.
That was great.
That's like.
So last episode, I kind of dove into more of like the development of the movie, like how it actually came to be. And I feel like that was really fun. So I did a similar one for this movie because I feel like it's kind of fun being like, how did this even happen? Right?
No,
like who got this here?
Because that's something that most people don't know about, like their favorite.
Yeah.
Like how did this become a movie?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about how Twilight got made. Obviously, as we already talked about, it's based off of a book by Stephanie Meyer. And the idea for Twilight came to her in a dream.
Of course.
She had a dream that a human girl, like I think she was the girl in her dream, and there was like a vampire who was in love with her, but also thirsted for her blood. Basic dream. And she just kind of like went with it. And I think in like 3 months, she wrote this book.
Oh my gosh.
Which I don't know. Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen Twilight,
they're huge.
Again, I know. I get that it's a quick read, but it is not a short book.
It is a hefty, no.
Yeah. So the fact that she was able to get through that in 3 months. So she was a pretty new writer, but she was able to sell it and get a book deal worth $750,000, which was very unheard of for a new writer.
Did she have other published work before this?
Oh, I don't know if she had other published. I did read that she was a new-ish writer, so maybe she even had a couple, but definitely a rare deal that she was able to strike up. But I think her publisher just really liked it. Like they saw something, like this is like the next big hit. They were just convinced that it was going to be good. And so the book.
I was going to say I have a quick side story about that. So I'm now remembering why I read Twilight the first time. For some reason, one of our Mormon family gave me a copy of the book. I don't remember why. Maybe they had read it and really liked it or something. But at first I was like, and so I just kept it. I didn't hold on to it. And then all of a sudden, the popularity of Twilight, like everyone was losing their mind over it. Yeah. Like it wasn't just the Mormons that were reading, like everyone was reading it. And so that's when then I did read it, but it had been out for a while. But I remember it started, I think, being very popular with the LDS women. And then it spread.
Yeah, because listeners, we should note, you probably already know this, but Laura and I are from Utah, and we were Mormon when we were like young children. I was 3, I think, when we left the church. So like we're not anymore, but we've got strong ties.
I know that's also from Utah, but you were not ever.
Well, no, but you weren't Mormon, right?
No, No, yeah. So the book was released in 2005 and it had mixed responses, but I mean, no matter what, it was popular. Like there were people who loved it. There were people who loved to hate it.
I think that makes it even more popular.
Exactly.
Like, spreads faster when there's like controversy or,
Yes. And there was controversy.
Right.
I mean, there were people who thought this book shouldn't be allowed. So, but yeah, for whatever reason, I think it stayed on like the New York Times top reads for like a long time. Like it was popular. But even before so the book was released in 2005. In 2004, so right before, Paramount got an unpublished copy of the manuscript. And someone there saw it and was like, I think this is going to be good. I like this idea of a movie. And so they looked at, getting an option, which just means like renting, like getting the rights for the movie. So I think they got the option for it right around 2004. So like even maybe even been before the book came out. And I think there was like a combo because then I see that like MTV Films was the one who actually got the writer for the book, but I think they were a part of Paramount. So between the two of them, they got the rights and they hired their writer, right? Because just because you have a book doesn't mean you have a movie. You need someone to adapt it to film.
Right.
And so they were worried that they would lose the male audience because, it's too much romance. So this version of the movie included things like Bella being a long distance runner, swearing a lot more, using shotguns against vampires who kill her father, being turned into a vampire, and riding jet skis being chased by the FBI.
What? What?
Wait, how? I mean, there's the one scene of her dad with a gun.
I love long distance runner. It reminds me of like Baywatch. It was popular just because girls were just running and bouncing and stuff. Like get the hell out.
They were like, oh, like we need to keep the men. So like I don't know, long distance runner that tracks.
That is what keeps them in. Like now we know.
Wow.
Now we know.
Shockingly, Stephenie Meyer did not love this version. She was like, you might as well just change the title. Like you might as well just make it something else. So lucky for her, and I don't know, maybe everyone else, this version obviously did not get made. And part of that is because Paramount had released some other, I think it was a vampire movie, and it absolutely bombed. And so Paramount went through like a big change in management. And part of that change was that they decided they were no longer interested in making this movie.
Okay.
They were like, this is probably not worth the investment. The other one tanked. It doesn't make sense right now. And part of the change in management, was that Karen Rosenfeld, who was co-president of production at Paramount, I think she was laid off. During part of this management change. And she liked Twilight. She went on to be a producer for the movie. And so she believed in it. After Paramount, I think she was laid off or she left. Something happened during that change in management. She was no longer there. She still believed in it. And so she tried to get other studios involved to say like, hey, let's get this made. It took her a while. So after 2 years, she finally met someone at Summit Entertainment, which we got from the little intro. So we know that's who made it. She pitched it to them saying like, oh man, like this one movie that we never got a chance to make that like I wish we could have was Twilight. And they were super into it. They were like, oh, okay, tell us more.
Yeah.
Like what else is there? So Summit was sold, and in that same year, in 2007, Paramount lost the rights to Twilight. They didn't like it was because they were no longer interested. So they knew that it was about to expire and they just let it expire.
Yeah.
So Summit acquired them. And what I think is funny is, so Summit Entertainment had existed since like the 90s, but it was started as like a production, distribution, sales kind of company. And it wasn't until 2006, which was when they met Karen Rosenfeld, that they decided to become a film studio.
Interesting.
Okay. So this isn't like last episode where, you know, Freddie built the studio.
Right.
They had a lot of backing.
Okay.
They had like $1 billion from Merrill Lynch and like a lot of investment, and they had made other movies. So they had made like Memento, Step Up.
Okay.
So,
Wait a minute.
you know, Step Up 2, The Streets.
Yeah,
that was them.
Yeah,
okay.
Nice.
All right. I just watched Memento again.
It's been so long.
I just watched it like 2 weeks ago because it had been a long time, and like that movie is wild. Yeah, it's so good.
I feel like that's worth a rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
So Summit, still being kind of a new studio, decided to go with it. Took a big gamble, obviously, because they were still pretty new. And I think when you're new, like you want to have a good impression.
You want like a safe bet almost, too. Like where it's like, okay, we know this will do well.
Yeah. So Twi was a little bit of a gamble, given that Paramount didn't want it, and a few other, I think like Fox turned it down. Like,
oh my gosh,
studios.
I wonder like what the behind the scenes conversation is of those people that let it go. Yeah. Like once it became so big, I bet they were like, oh, we messed up.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, this would go on to be Summit Entertainment's largest success by far. Yeah. Of any of the movies that they released.
Oh my gosh.
So they hired director Catherine Hardwicke, who had come up with like a few, I think she had like 3-4 movies before this. So like, you know, definitely experienced, had a good style. This is the only movie that she directed. I think that this first one is the only one that a woman directed.
Ooh.
Don't quote me on that one. I'm pretty sure though it is. She would go on to not work on any of them. There were rumors she was fired.
Well, you know what? You know what?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sorry. Like, do we know any of the other movies that she directed? Do we know what they are?
13, I think, is her big one.
13 is the best movie.
I haven't watched.
Oh, it's so good.
Wait, you're talking about like the one with Nikki Reed?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. So I was that age.
Such a good movie.
Like I cannot tell you that movie
with Evan Rachel
my
Wood,
adolescence.
Right?
Like
Evan Rachel Wood?
Yes. Yeah. Like if you want to be like, what was Brianna's adolescence?
It's 13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
That was
that was her.
See, now how the hell?
Okay, because that one is amazing. It's so good.
Do you go from the gritty, raw, like it's so good, 13, to this monstrosity of a movie? Like,
yeah.
I feel like what happened? Okay, I feel that the story is kind of it's a good story. Critique it what you want.
No, it is,
but it's got some drop.
No, it is. Totally.
Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart have been good in other movies.
Yes,
Kristen Stewart I've seen has also been a little
right, and she was young. Like she wasn't,
but like she's been good in other movies.
Yeah.
The director has clearly made a very well done, directed a good movie.
How did this happen?
I mean, I know I secretly love it, but also there's parts of it that are just so darn bad. Like I don't understand how this happened.
I will say, like being from that time, like 2007 was when I graduated. Like this was like a very notable time in my life. Like pop culture, this did make sense. Like it did fit it. The way it was filmed.
Say what you want. It was a giant success.
Yeah, no, like the lighting.
The blue tint. How did we just skip over the fact this whole movie's blue?
Yes.
That was her.
Also, I feel like we have to talk about the soundtrack. Like, the soundtrack was of that era.
Amazing.
But that song, you guys, at that time was like, it was amazing. So this is the only props that I will give this movie is that their soundtrack was right. So I get it.
That's just wild to me.
I know.
Like knowing the story and how weird this movie turned out.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
She did respond to the rumors, saying she was not fired. She was given rights, like the first right to refuse the sequels, and she didn't want to do them. She was like, I'm done.
Maybe she was embarrassed.
Right? Like,
she was like, I think she said it was that the studio wanted to just rush into making the next movies, which I think that's part of what made the sequel so successful, I think is one thing I saw, is that they were able to keep up with their target demographic and that they just churned through those movies. I mean, you got them back to back to back.
I just Googled it to look something up and the whole saga popped up. Those dates, like those years, they are so close together. Like they all came out. It's kind of like, how did they do that? Like,
have you both seen them all?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Oh, I absolutely have. So I've absolutely seen all of them.
I will say, I mean, they do get, some of them get worse. But the last movie is the best one. It's actually well done. I feel like the very last Twilight one, I feel like is actually decent. No, okay.
I'm not going to fight you because I don't remember enough, but like I feel like I remember not liking.
Or maybe it was the second to last one.
Because it was broken too, right?
Yeah, it was.
So one of it was either the second to last one or the last one. Like one of them was actually like where I finally was like, at least it's not like butchering the book. Like at least it's somewhat decent. So now maybe I'm wrong.
She's lying because she loves each and every one of them.
That's true.
I'm a Twi-hard.
Yeah, Twi-hard. I can see your Twi-hard right now, Laura.
Oh my God. Okay, anyway, Catherine, our director.
Yes.
Had a budget of $37 million, which sounds like a lot, but is actually not a lot when it comes to making a movie.
That does sound like a lot.
You know, movies can quickly get to the $100 million range. Like that's actually a smaller budget.
Right.
And they only had 44 days to shoot.
Oh, so, that seems fast.
Small budget, small amount of days. And Kristen Stewart was a minor, so she could only work 5.5 hours a day.
Oh, really?
So they had a cap on like how much time that they had her, but they really liked her as Bella. So they were like, well, we'll make it work.
Quick question. How much of the $37 million did they spend on glitter?
Yeah. I'm hoping it was a substantial amount.
At least half would be my guess.
Okay.
Obviously it was a giant success. They had a $37 million budget and it ended up grossing $400 million worldwide. God. And between all the sequels, I think they broke $1 billion between all of them.
I would not be surprised. No. Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked up, you know, the box office for 2008 because I was like, well, let's see like how it compares. So it was the 8th highest grossing in 2008. So let me tell you what was above it. Number 1, no surprise, The Dark Knight.
Yes.
That was a big one.
That was a good movie.
Such a good movie.
That was a good one. 2, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Again, also a good movie. Yes. I liked it.
Yeah. Well, and this was early Marvel, but before, you know, we got like 20 a year.
Right.
Yeah. Honestly, because it was early.
No, the first one I liked.
I got the first Iron Man.
I was very well
super
done.
into.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Like, wasn't this kind of the comeback for Robert Downey Jr.?
Because he had been like in jail or something.
Oh yeah, I mean
right?
he did, and he sort of started to bounce back, but like this was his major box office. Yeah. Like, I'm here, I'm good now, I'm not a piece of shit anymore.
Right?
Yeah. No, it was good. Okay, 3, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, the worst! I actually fell asleep in that movie.
I don't remember that one.
Then Matthew and I would watch them.
The Crystal Skull one was the worst.
No, it was still good. Me, Matthew, and Dad would watch them.
I will say this: the old Indiana Jones, great. I will stand by this statement. You can quote me on this. Twilight, 100 times better than the Indiana Jones Crystal Skull movie.
Well, the box office disagrees.
They'll
move on to number 4. Hancock. Will Smith. Number 5, Wall-E.
Oh, such a good
movie. So good. Number 6, Kung Fu Panda.
Yes. Oh, that is such a good movie.
I feel like that was actually good.
It's such a good movie.
Okay, number 7, I was a little bit surprised because Twilight was number 8. Number 7 was Madagascar, Escape to Africa.
Really?
So it's like, is that even the first one?
No, I don't think it is.
No, it's not because the first one came out when I was in college.
Yeah, so it's like
it was really cute.
You're telling me the sequel to Madagascar
beat it
this well?
I mean, parents got to take their kids somewhere.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
They had Wall-E. They had the Kung Fu Panda,
right?
Yeah.
Which those I get. Those I agree with. The first one
It was so good. I love the first Madagascar.
And then, after Madagascar 2 was Twilight.
All right.
So, top 8 of 2008. It did very well.
Especially because, like, it's the first one. People don't know what to expect. So actually, I can see the first one not doing quite as well.
Yeah.
Box office as the others because, like, people weren't sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and it also came out, I guess, I don't know if this accounts for when it came out. Twilight didn't come out until November of 2008.
Right.
It came out at the very, very, very end. And I feel like that was one where it's like, as people watched it, because obviously the people who liked the book watched it, and that was a big portion. But then there was, the people who watched it to like make fun of it. And then the people who like it rolled out into more and more and more people watching it. So,
Totally.
So that was my kind of summary on the development and then success that was Twilight.
I just have to say, like, I love hearing that because, like, I find it really interesting to know how a movie came to be because that's something you don't always think about.
Yeah.
Especially, like, different years in pop culture, like, you cross-section each one. Like, I think it's really interesting. Yeah.
Well, and just, like, how big of a stake some of these movies are. Like, I think, just from last week talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and how it was just an entire studio just gambled on one movie.
Yes.
And with this one, like, Summit Entertainment had more money than them, but still, this was a big gamble and it paid off. This was their most successful movie.
But they didn't know that going in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they really were putting a lot of faith into it because they didn't know. It could have bombed.
Yeah.
Right.
And it brought this little studio very high up.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Fascinating.
I also feel like we should just explain a little bit to our listeners why we went with this movie because it's not a horror movie.
No, it's not. It's not.
On its surface, but I'm going to make a case for why it is a horror movie.
Okay.
And it's not just because it includes vampires and werewolves. When you think of the kind of the lack of agency of the character Bella,
right,
and just the amount of like control or manipulation that goes on in this movie, it's actually pretty darn scary.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
When you think of it that way. So I think in some ways, relationship wise, it could be considered a horror
movie.
There's also when you consider the fact that it could be used as a way of torture to make people watch this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
100. For me, for instance, like in The Good Place, when they're like, wait, we're in the bad place. It would be like if I was watching the Twilight Saga on it, just loop.
Yeah. Did either of you watch Lost? I know you watched some of it.
I watched half of it.
Such a good show.
It just was so long. I'm not halfway through.
I'm not giving much away. Like if you ever would want.
Well, I mean, it's like 20 years old.
At one point, there is torture or psychological experiments on what would happen, and what they do is they kind of like force people's eyes to stay open and they would just watch something for like 24 hours and it's like really loud and really they just have to watch. They could put Twilight in that and see like how it would mess with someone's brain.
Torture.
Now Laura, maybe you know more as a super fan because I didn't look into it, but I saw it pop up. I think they're making a TV series.
I've heard
a Twilight TV series.
I did not know
I've heard that.
I think it's happening.
I did not know this, but I will say something else I learned in my research today of this movie that I guess I can't call myself a super fan because although I have read the main books, I didn't realize there is it's like a Twilight. Oh, I forget what it's called. Moon, Sun, Silver, something. It's the original Twilight book, but from Edward's perspective. And I've never read that one.
Fascinating.
Oh, I did see that in my research. I forget what she called it, but
I didn't read the one. So I'm like, oh shit. I should go get a book.
Yeah, you should.
Maybe I'll go walk to the library.
It's her birthday soon. So
I'm gonna go.
If anyone's looking for a birthday gift,
it's about to be my birthday.
That's it.
I was thinking I would just go walk to the library and get it.
Yeah.
So I like to do that.
Report back.
Yeah, I will.
It is.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I'm totally gonna go get it. But yeah, so we picked it because it's got some horror themes, but also it's romance.
We picked it because Laura tricked us into.
I did not.
It.
Yeah,
Yvette
she's like,
was the
guys,
one.
wouldn't it be so funny? Like, wouldn't it be so funny if we all watched it?
No, you guys, we should just watch Twilight.
I did not pick this for Spooky Sips. I did not. Yvette, you were the one that picked it.
Okay, it's true. Yvette picked it.
Don't.
I did.
Don't be a
It was
gaslighter.
I'm gassy. I was right there, Laura.
All right, Edward.
We have it recorded.
Yeah, you picked it. We have it on record.
No one's gonna believe you.
And nobody is going to believe you.
And Bella in this scenario.
Yeah, you would. You would be Bella.
You're not like other girls, so
You're not like other girls.
No, I'm very much like other girls.
She is.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm like other girls because I like this movie. I'm a sucker.
Crying.
So, actually, I don't like the movie. I like the books.
You're like Jessica a little bit.
I'm a little bit like Jessica.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like Anna Kendrick. I'm okay with that.
Are we doing sips? I can't.
Yeah, no, we can't because I'm really excited to give mine. So here on Spooky Sips, we don't give stars. We give sips. Sometimes I'm just like, I hate the sound of my own voice so much.
Yeah.
Anyways. Out of 5 sips, how many did you give this film?
Laura, super fan. Maybe start with you.
Yeah.
Okay. There's so much of this that I don't like. I really, the very first time I saw this movie, I was irrationally mad about how bad they made the books that I had loved.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost a little bit Stockholm syndrome-y. Maybe I am, Bella.
Maybe you are.
Because every time I watch it, I hate it a slight bit less.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yes.
Like this time watching it, I was like, you know, this not bad. Also, the acting in it is so bad.
Acting is so bad.
And usually the only time we watch this, and I know we've already said this, but usually the only time is like Brianna and I end up getting like totally wasted and we're like, you know what sounds good? Let's watch Twilight.
But you know what happens when we do that?
We can't finish it.
No, we only get like a third of the way through and then we just watch 50 Shades
and then
of
we're
Grey.
like, let's just watch 50 Shades
yeah.
of Grey every time. So really, although there's a decent amount of discussion I've liked of this movie, and it does make me kind of want to read the books again. The way this movie was actually done, I'm giving it a 1.5.
Wow.
I know, because I say I'm a super fan,
Right.
but I really, I think the movie, here's why. My expectations are really high. This movie could have been so good. Yeah. I feel like as flawed as the story and the characters are, this still could have been such a good movie, and they butchered it. Yes. They really did. They made it way okay.
Because actually, the story isn't terrible.
Maybe 2. Okay, I'm giving it a 2.
Okay.
2.
All right. Okay.
So you would have preferred Bella on jet skis running from the FBI, right? That's what you're saying.
Actually, yes. Let's try it. Let's try it.
Yes.
Yes.
As a long distance runner.
Yes.
Yeah, why wasn't she just running from the FBI?
Yes. Just always have her running. That's all. Yeah. Honestly, that probably would have made it better.
Probably would have. I mean, Edward's always speeding around like a spider monkey. Oh. Why not?
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Oh.
2.
Okay.
That's my final answer.
All right.
I can go. I'll give it like 0.25 just because I like talking to you guys about movies.
Yeah. I think I am going to go with a 0.5.
Okay. Nice.
Which actually is a lot higher than it deserves. Yeah. But I think I'm going with that because I actually think it's important for everyone to watch this so that you know what bad cinema is, because it makes you appreciate good cinema.
But you get these moments of like,
no, you don't. There are none. There is not a single.
Yes, there are.
There is not moments. One moment in this film where I was like, wow, that is exciting, or that's attractive. Not a single one.
Not even bad.
But it's such a fun movie to hate on. Like, if you're just like, I want to be a hater right now, throw on this movie.
I enjoy being. So like, I give it
fun
because like I enjoy
all right, I'll give you that.
making fun of other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, like,
because you're not like other girls.
Because I'm not like other girls. Yeah. No, actually, I'm just like other girls.
Oh my God.
I am other girls. Is what I mean. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we apologize.
We departed from our norm.
Yeah, this
we
was
did.
a one-off because it's Valentine's Day, and
it's special.
You should know what bad relationships look like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you can be like, oh, mine's not so bad. I'm okay. We're okay.
That's one way to look
for
at
Valentine's Day. You can be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Stockholm yourself.
It's a really romantic, Brianna.
Yeah. It's like,
you okay?
The bar shouldn't be I'm better than Twilight.
You wanna talk off pot?
that is my bar. My marriage is better than Twilight. If you're listening, my husband, I'm just kidding.
Yes. No, we're just kidding. Oh, man.
All right, so next time on Spooky Sips, we need your help, fans.
Yes.
So we want to know what you would like us to watch and discuss. So on Instagram or email, send us your recommends for what we should watch and sip along with next time.
We'll let you decide.
Yes.
Fan pick time.
Yay.
Let's do it. So let us know.
Let us know. And then we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
All right.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at spookysips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.